Hello, world, and welcome to the IBGR and 365 Business Maker Connect. We are here, and it is so great to see everyone for this special event. I'm seeing friends old and new. I'm connecting in the speed networking, and it is amazing. If you are watching us on live, wherever it is live, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook. We want you on the inside. Come on into Air Meet and join us. Some of you have been messaging in the chat, so let's get you a little bit of an overview of this brand new platform called Air Meet, where we meet. Air Meet, where we meet. There is a chat in should be in your right hand column there if you want to go ahead and tell us where you're from. We want to see. We've had Qatar in the house already. We've got Italy in the house. We've got Richmond in the house, Virginia. So tell us. Oh, Mauritius. Hey, Robin, good to see you. Tell us where you're from, because we have people from all over the world ready to make connections, and this is amazing. There are a couple of things I want to tell you about before we bring Ben to the stage, because I know many of you want to hear Ben Gioia talk about 3 secrets for profiting from your book before it's even published. I've spent the weekend with Ben on Zoom, and I know you are going to be in for a treat. But before we get there, let me show you around a little bit. There is the chat on the right-hand side. And you might also see Q&A. So if at any point during our sessions you have a question, you can pose it in the Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer it either on the stage or at the end of session 2. We'll go back into what we call the social lounge, where you were just in the speed networking queue. And Ben and I both have a table that you can sit down at the table and have a conversation with us. Or you can go into your own table. There are some tables set up just for one-to-one conversations if there's somebody you really want to connect with. You can also, in the right-hand column, you'll see messages. You can direct message anybody that's in the event and schedule a meeting that either at the table or later. So that's a great thing to do. And what I love about this event are the emojis. So below my talking head, you should see a place where you can do emojis. I just saw a thumbs up. We have clap hands. So give me some clap hands in that emoji there. Give me some clap hands. There we go. And then we have the big heart. Where's the hearts? Let's see some hearts. Yes. We got thumbs up. So when somebody's saying something on the stage and you just really want to give a thumbs up, you can do that. There is the cool guy glasses. There is the laugh emoji, celebrate emoji. And for something that you hear from the stage that just totally blows your mind, we got that wow emoji. Let's see some wow emojis, some heart emojis, yes. All right. I know you're out there. I know you're participating. So we talked about the emojis. We talked about chat and Q&A. We talked about networking that will happen at the end of the session 2. We talked about how you can connect with other people in the room through direct messaging. And I've just asked you, go ahead, put in where you're from. Don't be afraid. Put in the chat. Where are you coming in from? We want to know. I do want to let you know also, speaking of letting you know, if you like what you see here, we're going to do this every month. On the first Tuesday of every month, it will happen here in Air Meet. There's a December one already lined up, and I'll share that link with you a little bit later. So you can go ahead and register for the December event right away now. That'd be pretty awesome. And what I recommend is if you have a smartphone, and I don't know who doesn't these days, go ahead and download the app on your phone from Air Meet, and then you'll be able to see some of the other events, not just ours, and you also get reminders about our event. There we go. The welcome. All of that. What I want to do now is change the background, because we always get this request to tell us the IBGR story. How on earth did you figure to do something like this? And so I think I kind of have been I'm telling myself this is the name, but I feel like Mama IBGR, and I want to call Papa IBGR up to the stage right now, William Eastman, and give you just a little bit about the IBGR story before we jump in and bring Ben Gioia to the stage for his 3 secrets for promoting your book before it is even published. Hey, Bill, good to see you.
Hey, good seeing you, Donna.
And like we don't see each other.
All the time.
All the time. So without taking up too much stage time, because I know we just like to keep our head down and get busy. Let's give a little bit to our attendees the IBGR story, and I think for me, my favorite part of the IBGR story is always where it started with you and your trip to Africa. You want to share a little bit about that, Bill?
Yeah, I was working as a large corporate consultant and reasonably successful. I mean, it's a pretty lucrative business, pretty demanding, on the road all the time, etc. And one of my clients we were providing consulting services to them, and they were providing training and consulting to the United Nations in West Africa. And they said they had a slot open, and they asked me to do it, and I just couldn't fit it into my schedule. And then the more I thought about it, I went, well, I'm never going to get this opportunity again, perhaps. So I'll go to Africa. So I went to Africa. I went to Ghana. We did our first session in Accra, and the capital. And it was a mixture of classroom and on the job. We had business owners in there. We were talking about some things that they needed to do to improve their business. Our focus was on growing. There weren't any startups in there. Well, there were young companies, but it was pretty much they were established. And then we would go out to their farms or go to their businesses, bars, retail operations, the whole mix, what you would have in the United States. And a couple of things struck me. Number one was that how difficult it was in Africa for them to be successful in business. We business owners here complain about it all the time and how difficult it is here. And it is nothing compared to there. So I was impressed by their drive, their ingenuity, their smarts. The second thing that hit me was, gee, couldn't we bring this to them? I mean, here I am. And even though working with $1 billion firm is different than working with a $1 million firm, essentially it's the same tool set. And I was like, I've got to figure out how to do this, because this is what I would rather be doing with the rest of my life than running around the world and going from the big company to big company, because ultimately you have no impact because they're just too damn big. And so that's where this started. The other thing that struck me was, as I got to know them, the realization is that those of us that are entrepreneurs, no matter what the size of the business is, have more in common with each other than we are our own families. And that what I recognize is all of us who are crazy enough to start a business and to take on all the risk that goes with that are a different breed of people. And I always view business owners as my brothers and sisters. So 30 years ago, I started thinking about how to do this. And we tried many things until we came to radio, and we realized that this may be the medium, because how else can we reach the world? There are 375 million small business owners, 20 or fewer employees around the world, who employ 57% of the planet. So basically, all of us on the air here right now, we employ 2 billion people. Think about where the world would be if we weren't successful. And it just took us a long time to come up with the idea of an internet radio. And the only difference between what we do at IBGR and your standard radio station that you listen to is really simple. And that is, we're using the internet as a broadcast tower. That's it. We run like a radio station. And Donna put up a photo there, and that's where I'm going. Is that
popped up on my Facebook yesterday.
I wound up doing it. I was on a radio station here in the local Virginia area, Richmond area, and it was a turn. I was on the station, and they were failing, and the general manager either fired or got quit. I'm not sure. And I put my hat in a ring, because I didn't understand the business side of radio, and myself and a great program director, Brian Holland, basically managed to turn the station around in 8 months and make it profitable, and they sold it. And Donna joined us there. And so, Donna, I'm going to let you pick up the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. John Brandt, thank you. You're you're out there, and it was you that brought us to that. Like, that guy at the radio station. Let's get us on there. And after Bill and I met, we did some shows together. And in January of 2020, we had this crazy idea and said, "Hey, let's give this international thing a chance." And you'll hear more about that story in session 2 when I come on the stage. But that's a little bit of your IBGR background story. It started in Africa and it ended up here. Who would have thought 20 some odd years later, here we are. So thank you, Bill, for the vision and the dream and for sharing that, not only with me, but now that we can share it with the world. And so now, let's see, where are we going to go? I'm still not seeing where everybody is from in the chat. So just let us know in the chat. Where are you coming in from? I certainly want to see that. And I want to know too. Are you ready? Are you ready to listen to what Ben has to say, what Ben Gioia has to say about 3 secrets for profiting from your book before it is even published? Let me see some emojis and let me know if we are ready for Ben. Are we ready for Ben? Give me some emojis out there. We got a thumbs up. All right, that was weak. There's some more thumbs up. Good. Yeah, we're ready for Ben. Ben, oh, you are gonna just love this guy. If you haven't met him yet, Ben Gioia, that's how you say it, Gioia, is a 3-time best-selling author and creator of Publish, Position, and Profit Master Plan. He makes it easy for coaches, consultants, speakers, and solopreneurs to write a world-class book in just 5 weeks and get clients before they're published. This means that they can create the life they want, the business they love, and make a bigger impact right away. Just love this guy. Why wait? Make an impact. Start attracting clients before you're published and leverage your book to instantly position yourself as a world-class expert so you can create the life, the freedom, and the business that you love. Ben helped a Fortune 100 company shift culture by creating an empathy video in collaboration with MIT. He's trained leaders at Stanford and created the first mindfulness program for the ALS Association, Lou Gehrig's disease. With 35 years of writing and publishing adventures, Ben has produced more than 352 million magazines. Ben loves that people thrive when they relax, smile, and quit suffering. Now, let's get some clapping emojis to bring Ben Gioia to the stage. Clap. Let's get those clapping, Ben. I turn the stage over to you, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Donna. Good morning, everybody. Or I should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, because this is a truly international affair. And this is what I love about IBGR. Thank you all for being here. It's an absolute honor and pleasure. Donna and Bill, thank you for having me here as your guest today. It's so much fun. And Donna, thank you for speaking at my event at Publish, Position, and Profit Master Plan over this weekend. People loved your stuff. Oh my goodness, I'm still getting shout outs about your all of the ways that you open people's eyes to possibilities with radio and podcasts, and even just help them understand marketing and positioning so much more effectively. So Donna, thank you. And Bill, thanks for being there for a day as well. It was really, really fun to see your face. And yeah, I'm glad I get to see all of your faces today. I look forward to speed networking later. So I will move quickly without rushing through the content because I have a lot of stuff that I want to cover, because I know you all as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, right? Like, you want to get good stuff, and moving fast enough, right, gives you that nice little energy of like, okay, I'm taking it in and it's landing and I can move forward with it, right? Instead of that slow and ponderous delivery of information. So we're not going to do any of that today. Again, it's my absolute pleasure to be here. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A area in the sidebar. Donna will keep an eye on all of those for me. You can come up to me, so to speak, join me at my table. after I present. And I'm happy to go further with anything there. And I will also, like I said, see you in speed networking. So without further ado, this is three secrets, or these are, I guess I should be grammatically correct because I am a book coach. These are 3 secrets for profiting from your book and making an impact before it's published, so you can create or elevate the business and the life that you love. So I promise that in our time together today, you will have the core strategies that I used to get my book done in 5 weeks, which led to a lucrative overseas speaking gig and a 10-month consulting contract with a Fortune 100 company, and so much more. And this all happened, or at least the vast majority of that stuff happened before my book was even written, like not even way before published. So I'm going to tell you how to do all of that stuff in your business. And if you stay until the end, excuse me, if you stay until the end, I would love to share with you a wonderful set of templates that I have. So whether or not you're writing a book, so your book, your brand, your business, you need testimonials, you need reviews, and you need really good ones, of course, right? Because social proof is such a powerful thing. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever reached out to a friend or colleague or client and you said, hey, can you write me a testimonial? And they're like, absolutely, I would love to. And then 4 months later, nothing, right? And you're like, hey, can you write that testimonial? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. And maybe they do it, maybe they don't. Maybe you get kind of a half-assed testimonial, right? So if you use these templates, which are super easy to use. If anybody remembers Mad Libs, at least some of us Americans from back in the day, right? Literally plug and play. There are 51 testimonials templates here that you can use for your business, right? Because then you can engineer them in the way that speak the truth about the business, speak to the success, the results, the outcomes that you've created, and then you hand them to somebody or you send it along and you say, hey, I'd love a testimonial. Can you send me a testimonial? By the way, I know you're super busy, so I wrote this one for you. Right? Please either bless it or edit it or write something new, right? So I will tell you how to get those at the end of my presentation. And in the meanwhile, we will sally forth because not only these testimonials, but this presentation and bringing your book to the world will change your life, right? Whether it's your first book, your 9th book, whatever the case may be, if you do it right, not only can you change people's lives and change people's business and elevate the entire experience of humanity, which is pretty cool, right? But yeah, you get to become the next version of who you are. And if you're like me, right, part of this adventure is really becoming more and more of who we truly are. So my honor and pleasure to support you on this journey and walk with you on this journey as well. So you've heard all this stuff. I'm going to say it again because you can never hear it enough. Take notes. Remove any kind of distractions, like turn off the other instant messengers and stuff like that. If you have a door, close it. If you're driving in the car, pay attention to the road, but keep listening, right? Shut down Facebook, Twitter, anything that's gonna hit your brain and go, yeah, dopamine, we love dopamine. Put all that stuff away because the dopamine is is an endless, unpleasant alley, right? So put your phone on do not disturb. Again, turn off all of the instant messengers. Tell your family you love them dearly, and this is the time that you are devoting to yourself and to your success. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I want to share real quick how I got here, because if you don't have a sense of who I am, chances are you won't listen to me, right? You know that about business when you're supporting the people that you serve, that people need to know your story. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story here. And also because I love sharing this picture of myself when I was a little person, because back then we were all little people at some point. So the slides are moving slow. There we go. Slow, very slow slides. So a couple things about me: that I'm a 3-time international best-selling author. You can see my 3 books here. Marketing with a Heart, which is kind of me with a dark outfit on. That was my first book. My second book with my face plastered on it right in front was Influence with a Heart, which is the one I wrote in 5 weeks. And my most current book, which just was published about a year ago, actually, it was my COVID book, right? Is The Influence with a Heart Method. So I have done some good writing and actually followed my own method for my third book, which was pretty cool. I figured out the method with the second book, and then I was like, hey, I can apply this to myself. So that was pretty fun, right? Because if you're like me, right, leverage is such a powerful thing. And going back to story, some interesting things about me. I faced death 4 times in India in the space of 72 hours, and I'm not going to tell you that story today. Right? How's that for how's that for a teaser? So come check me out in at my table or in networking, and I can tell you at that point. I have 35 years of writing and publishing adventures. That should say adventures with an E at the end of it. Here we go with editing again. I wanted to write a book since I was 12 years old. Right? Started, got onto the yearbook in high school at 13. 4 years editor-in-chief. Studied writing. Studied psychology. Did 8 years of magazines, some titles that you might recognize: Modern Bride, Condé Nast Traveler, and I actually helped launch AARP, the magazine. So if you're of that age, especially in the United States, AARP comes knocking on the door and this is, hey, we know you're getting a little older, here's the magazine. So I actually helped launch that. I'm sorry, you're welcome. And that's how I was able to actually produce and help distribute globally 352 million magazines. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and a couple things, like I said before, that I'll be touching base about today, strategically and tactically. Having trained leaders at Stanford University after writing a book in just 5 weeks. That's a really fun story. And helping a Fortune 100 company by creating an empathy video game and doing that with MIT. So that was something that I didn't even know really existed in the world, and yet it came to be. So I think you know this as an entrepreneur, and let me remind you, there is so much magic possible out there. And yeah, thank you for being part of the magic and opening up to that magic for yourself and the people that you serve. And as many of you've probably had this experience yourself, it wasn't always like this for me, right? Like I wasn't born having published 3 books, right? Like I wasn't born having launched a magazine, right? I was born as a little person, grew up, found my way into all sorts of things, all sorts of good things, and all sorts of kind of tricky things, right? So at one point in my life, I looked like that, right? So here I am in the mountains of northern India. So those are the actual Himalayas in the background. And if you can imagine this, I'm already at 12,000 feet. And the mountains around are like 28,000 feet high. So just mind-blowing. And I'm here in India doing some volunteer work. I'm actually living with a family, helping them to farm barley of all things and learning about local cultures, local economies, right? Like all that good kind of stuff. Bill, I appreciate what you were saying about your time in Africa. Super resonant. And not only was I here helping people, but I was here getting my shirt together, right? Getting my act together in a big way. Because I was on the tail end of way too many drugs, way too many parties, way too many pills, way too many white powders. I don't know if any of you can resonate with this. You don't have to raise your hand. I'm not asking you to call yourself out, but just, making not such good choices for a long time. And I certainly did that for a long time, right? And India for me was a really helpful place because in my experience of facing death 4 times in 72 hours, there was the kind of the big shakeup of, hey, your life is a gift. Use this gift. You have a whole bunch of privilege. Use that privilege and help people. And I was like, oh, okay. Right. I finally started getting it. And then the other part of that was I went back to India a second time because one shakeup wasn't enough, and had the experience of hiking through the Himalayas for 9 days with blisters on my Achilles tendons. So if you can imagine, I actually did the math. If you can imagine 144,000 steps, rough trekking for 6 to 8 hours a day and going over from 12,000 feet to a 16,000 foot high pass every other day. So 4 high passes, every single step is ow, 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 and so much judgment and so much misery and so much anger, into the revelation of, wait a minute, these mountains are beautiful. And I'm understanding that for the first time in my life, even though it came through the avenue of pain, I am in the present moment for the first time from forever. And that was when I really started to understand that there's a difference between pain and suffering, right? There is pain in our experience in the world, right? We have human bodies, they break, they itch, right? They fail in certain ways, but you don't ever have to add the story to that suffering. And when you do so, life is so much easier. Life is so much better. And I say this not only to share a fun story, but to really, really underscore this for your book, right? You can really struggle around, oh, it's so hard to write a book, or you can just write the book, right? And recognize that all this stuff is going to come up anyway. So to just smile and relax and just go back to it, right? So make it easy on yourself. And my intention is that what I'm going to be sharing strategically, tactically will help you do so. And in the meanwhile, here's a little inside trick, right? Put a little smile on your face right now. And as much as possible, just through the course of this presentation, just try to smile, right? You don't have to do like cheesy grin if you don't want to. I mean, you can, right? Right. But we smile because we're happy, right? But neurologically, we also become happy when we smile. So turn up the corners of your mouth, elevate your mind, like let your mind lighten, if you will, because I like to say a light mind is the right mind to write. And even if you're not writing or even thinking about a book ever again in your life or whatever the case may be, that tool of smiling throughout your day, especially when you're driving in traffic, is a beautiful and powerful thing. So thank you for hearing all that. Thank you for being here. And like I was saying, things weren't always like this. Not only was I coming off the tail end of drugs, like I was up to my eyeballs in crazy amounts of debt. I had withdrawn all the money from my 401k because I needed to survive, right? I was in the space of, okay, I'm stepping into service in a big way, really taking what I had learned in India, inside my heart and saying, okay, like, how can I really serve the world? How can I really make my impact? And I was like, I have no idea how I can do this, right? I really didn't understand. But when you follow that intention, the teachers, the opportunities, the situations, they come up sooner or later. So I was, and I was really hoping for sooner because I was one of those people, like literally $7 in the bank with about $50,000 of credit card debt. And, this is not the zero interest credit cards. This is like 20%, 18%, really just getting clobbered and clobbered and clobbered. And something had to give. And the thing that gave and keeps giving, which is a beautiful thing, was my book, right? My book changed everything. And it was not my first book, right? Turned out to be my second book. But that was the thing that was really, really so pivotal in so many ways for the inside of me, for how I was serving people. And I want to invite you to think in those terms as well. So you have to, wait a minute, no, you don't have to get it done, right? You have the privilege to get it done. So let's notice two things about that. Having to get something done, right? Or you must get it done. It just, if you hear me say that, you're like, I don't need to do anything you tell me, right? If you're a human being, you'll be like, you're not the boss of me, right? And then there's that inner game stuff, right? Where I have to get this done. I need to do this thing, right? And we cultivate that inner resistance. And it's like, no, wait a minute. Smile, take a breath, relax, give yourself, or recognize in yourself that you have the privilege to get it done, right? So whether it's your book, your podcast, your radio show, having that opportunity to serve your client, even that tricky one, even that person who drives you a little batty sometimes, you have the privilege to bring your message to them, to make the impact that you make. So here's what we're covering today: publishing secrets, right? So from writing / finishing your book in just 5 weeks to publishing and launching your book the right way, here's what you need to bring your message to the world. And then we'll be touching on some positioning secrets, so becoming a category of one and standing out as a credible expert, authority, or thought leader in your market, field, or industry. And that helps, of course, with getting more speaking gigs, podcast interviews, consulting gigs, all that good stuff. And profiting secrets, knowing what it takes to bring in more business even before you're finished writing, right? That's one of the most important things for me. It's not only the business, but the impact, right? Like, why wait till your book is published to make an impact? Why wait till get clients? Like right out of the gate, like leverage an idea. If you have an idea to leverage the idea, because again, that's where all the magic happens. And this is real magic that actually happens in the world, and people give you money for it, and you're able to impact all sorts of people. And then the last part of the profiting secrets, taking your business to 6 figures or 7 or 8, depending who you are, without selling a single book. Have a beautiful story about that to share about my friend Susan. So imagine what your life will be like. You have a high quality published book that's bringing you leads, clients, and opportunities, and instantly positions you as an expert in your market, industry, or field. The coffee's coming through. You never have to worry about competing for business ever again, right? This is one of the most important things I try to remind not only my clients, but almost everybody I come in contact with, right? You don't have to compete, right? There's plenty of business out there for everyone. Let yourself be a world-class expert in your stuff, a unique world-class expert in your stuff. Right? You don't have to be the expert, because I think that's way too much pressure. Be an expert, be a unique world-class expert in your stuff. Be a magnet for your right people, because the magnet does 2 things, right? Remember magnets? The 2 poles of the magnets, attracting and repelling, right? So attract your best people, repel your not best people, right? Because there's plenty of space for everyone. And when you start thinking about collaboration, right, about partnership, about possibility in that way, then there's almost nothing you can't do, right? Can do. You know what I'm trying to say. You can do all the things, right, with collaborations and partnerships. And waking up every day with time, depending on how you live your life, right? Time freedom, money freedom, location freedom. You can do this from home, right? And creative freedom, so you can share your message and make a difference, right? I know so many people are like, I'm gonna do the thing when I get the other thing taken care of. And it's like, wait a minute, how can we do the thing now, right? And especially in terms of things like self-care and spending time with your kids, right? Going to the beach in the morning or taking that walk, right? And doing it from a space of spaciousness. Because I don't know about you, but I grew up in heavy-duty competition land pretty much from 7th grade onward, right? And I mean, there were certainly some benefits to those things, right? Like no regrets, and I wouldn't be who I am without all of that. And it could have been a lot more fun and a lot more pleasant and a lot more spacious a lot of that time. So I really invite you to get yourself to that place, and a book can be a great part of that. So let's start with the publishing secrets. So number 1 is book length and thinking as little as possible. So there's a couple of subsets to this, or these secrets, right? The first one is, when you're writing your book, choose the length of the book before you start writing. What? Yes, pick the number of words for your book before you start writing, right? Give yourself the parameters, give yourself the length, right? When you know the length of your book, then you can figure out how much you're going to write in the front, how much you're going to write in the middle, how much you're going to write in the back, right? And then you can start chunking it down into incremental pieces that you can eat, so to speak, bit by bit by bit, right? Otherwise, it's like, oh, I don't know, all these, I could write anything. And, if you're like me, if you're an expert, right? You have dozens of years, if not decades of years of skills, experience, expertise, wisdom, right? Case studies, all these things you can teach, all the things you can talk about. You could probably write 20 books. But the most important book to write right now is the book to write right now. Like, what do your people need? So if you know what your people need right now, if you know the language that they talk about their challenges and pains and goals and dreams and all that kind of stuff in, right? And you know what they need, and you know how your offer or what you, the transformation that you deliver, how that connects those dots, right? Marry that with your book length. And then it's like, wait a minute, there's the path. Much, much easier, right? So for me, choosing that book length at the beginning and having that roadmap and putting it on the calendar, right? Delineating that time for yourself, committing to that time, following through with that time, right? All of those things contribute to thinking as little as possible, right? I say to folks who are in my in my mastermind program, I say, think as little as possible. I want you to only think about your content. I want you to only think about the people that you serve and how you can best serve them and how you can best communicate and how you can even do that more clearly. Like, I don't want you to think about logistics of a book, right? I don't want you to think like, what goes here and why? And maybe I should go research like 50 other books and see what they did. No, right? Follow a proscribed path to take overwhelm out of the picture for yourself, right? Put it down on paper. Commit to, instead of having 10 things that you have to commit to, put those 10 things on the calendar and then commit to the calendar, right? And then psychologically, you're only committing to one thing, much less overwhelm and much more willpower, because your willpower is not being eroded throughout the day, right? And then the second publishing secret, and this is super duper important, and so many people don't understand this, the difference between publishing and launching. Now, so the publishing, so we're all on the same page with the definition here, right? Publishing is when your book goes up for sale. Right? When your book is saleable, if that's the word, right? On Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Chapters, Kobo, like those other 40,000 retailers that you can have your book selling around the world, right? When the book is up for sale in those places, in print form, in ebook form, right? In digital form, that is the publishing part, right? My book is published. Hooray! Great. Okay. The launching part is that day, that big day, when you say to everybody, hey, I'm launching my book on such and such a date. Will you please support me in my launch? Right? So a lot of people will go through this process so they can get #1 status, whether it's on the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Amazon, whatever the case may be. Right? It's the big fanfare. But the reason why I want you to understand the distinction between publishing and launching is for two reasons. First of all, both of those take a bit of work, right? Like, even if you have a super clearly defined path and you have a publisher that, does all the things, right, that you need to be done, right? Design, editing, what else? Keywords, categories, distribution, all that kind of stuff. And even if you have a launch plan, right, and know exactly what to do before the launch and the day of the launch and after the launch, even if you have all that stuff in place, it's still a bit of activity, right? So most of the time, your most strategic and tactical approach will be to do your publishing over here, right? You could call it a soft launch if you want to, right? Get your book up for sale. And then a couple of months down the line, a few months down the line, maybe half a year down the line, whatever makes the most sense, then you launch your book, right? Because in that interim between the publishing and the launching, then you can really take the steps to do one heck of a launch, right? And it's not just to become #1. I mean, being #1 is great, hooray, right? But imagine in that interim time, developing partnerships, right? Connecting with influencers, getting on podcasts, being on more air meet gatherings like this, right? Being able to connect with people who have big email lists, being able to connect with decision makers in organizations who have tremendous amounts of influence and can say yes in a big way to support you and your book launch. Right? Because it's not just the launch, but it's what happens because of the launch, right? How many more people can join your email list, right? How many more powerful, salient relationships can you cultivate in that time, right? How much more can you position yourself as an expert, authority, or thought leader, right? Like, a book is a great way to build instant credibility. Like, hey, I have a book. Okay, you must know something. Wonderful, right? Brilliant start. And if you want to really lock in, like, solidify that credibility. So you're not just fly by night, like, hey, I have this book, right? But you really want to lock it in. Like, that's where the marketing comes in. That's where those relationships come in. And that is the difference between publishing and launching. So positioning secrets. Speaking of positioning, leveraging your book before it's published. Now, this is some of the stuff that I talked about almost right out of the gate, because this is really central to what I teach and central to how I got here, right? So if some of you may know my story, most of you don't, which I'm very excited to share it again, right? Not only because it's a fun story, but how can you apply this to your business, right? To your book. So I did some repositioning of myself, rebranding myself several years ago. My first book and brand and business, Marketing with a Heart, right? Sounds like you get it, right? Marketing with a heart. Okay, so that was the beginning, and I did that for about 5 years, and not so much happening, like really just kind of struggling through, really, less than $30,000 a year US, still a bit of debt, like was not really happening. I was getting some clients, and the people who would read the book like were really impacted by it, but I wasn't reaching a lot of people. So I was like, hey, I feel like I'm doing the right stuff, but it's not quite right. What do I do about this? So I took a big step back, kind of reinvestigated my purpose and how I want to express my purpose. And I realized, hey, I don't want to be the marketing guy. I want to be the influence guy, right? I want to influence positive change. I want to inspire people to say yes to themselves for what they can do in the world in the biggest possible way, personally, professionally, everything in between, right? So that word influence was really sticking with me. And I said, okay, I'm going to do a big rebrand of myself. So I literally just changed my business name on my personal profile on LinkedIn, right? So instead of Ben Gioia Marketing with a Heart, it now said Ben Gioia Influence with a Heart. I was like, okay, great. Big rebranding effort. Took me about 30 seconds. So 2 weeks later, somebody contacts me on LinkedIn, and she's like, hey, it looks like you're a public speaker, and we have a speaking opportunity coming up, and maybe you'd be interested. Would you like to come train 126 business leaders from one company? They're going to be coming for 2 days of workshop and training at Stanford University. Would you like to be the speaker? And I went, of course I'd like to be the speaker of, thank you very much, right? Like, how could I not? So here's this big potential breakthrough here. So we signed the contract, we worked out all the details. And then I said to the event planner, I said, hey, by the way, I would love to add extra value to the event. So I'm going to show up with 130 printed, autographed copies of my second book for everyone in the audience and for your staff. And she said, oh my God, that's amazing. We would love that. They would love that. That would really give them so much more value, really make the event memorable, and it makes us really look good as an event company. And I said, absolutely, my pleasure. We hang up the phone, and I went, oh my God, I have to write a book right now. Right? I did not have that second book written. And the event, the 2-day training at Stanford, was 6.5 weeks from when I hung up the phone or turned off Zoom, whatever the case may be. 6.5 weeks, which meant that I didn't have 6.5 weeks, right? I had as long as I had to get the book written and then get it out so it could be produced. Like, I had to get it published, like I said before, up and selling, right, before the event, so I could get copies of the book and have time to autograph them and then time to bring them. So I wrote the book in 3.5 weeks. I showed up to the event, books in hand, autographed, hooray, 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 everybody happy, me very tired, everybody happy. It was a wonderful event. People were super impacted. 1 year later, the company, the people in the audience hired me to speak at their headquarters in Sydney, Australia, because of their experience at my event, right? Like, when I went to speak in Australia, one of them had my book and she said, oh my God, I read this book every day, right? From 1 year ago, right? Top of mind awareness sitting on the desk, right? I got other speaking gigs from the company that facilitated that event, right? So I was doing a lot of speaking at that time, all from this one event. And then right at the beginning of this process as well, while I was frantically writing the book, right, copy pasting, Frankensteining, just making it happen, somebody else contacted me on LinkedIn because I had put or I had asked somebody on Fiverr, just one of those online design places, could you make a 3D cover of my book, of my forthcoming book, right? Because you should leverage, if you're not doing this right already, and you have a book coming, leverage the idea of your book before it even comes. Hey, I'm the forthcoming author of this book, right? And if you don't have the title yet, I'm the forthcoming author of a book about this topic, right? But start positioning yourself way before the book comes to the world, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I get the 3D cover done and I put it up on LinkedIn. Forthcoming author of Influence with a Heart, right? Somebody contacts me. They're like, hey, we are doing a mindfulness and empathy video game. We're creating it with MIT for a Fortune 100 company, and it's going to be used by 20,000 employees to improve resilience and customer experience. Would you like to write the curriculum? And I said, of course I would. Right? No idea. And that turned into 10 months of consulting with a Fortune 100 company here in the States, right? So leverage your book before it's covered. Leverage the idea. Put the cover everywhere you can. Even if the cover is going to change, put it somewhere. Even if the title's going to change, put it everywhere, right? Be that author. Hey, I'm an author. Congratulations, you're an author. Bless you, you're an author. Make it happen, right? And then the other part of this is a little bit of the kind of, behind the scenes, behind the curtains move. And this supports everything before your book comes to be, and it also supports what's happening in your book, right? Because the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes that people make with their book is they're like, I'm the expert in the stuff. I'm going to give all the information. Here's all the information. And your reader's like, can't deal, right? Too much, too dense, not applicable. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the average across all books, all industries, the average page that people get to in a book is page 18. Page 18, right? So no offense to you, no offense to your book, but people probably aren't going to read your whole book. So what do you do about that? You position yourself as an expert as soon as possible throughout the gate, right out of the gate throughout the book, right? Because some people skim, some people scan, some people open up the table of contents and they're like, hey, this looks kind of cool. Let me look at chapter 7. They look at chapter 7, they put down the book. So how do you keep them engaged, right? How do you leave that impression of you as an expert, right? As a thought leader, as an authority? You do that by focusing on beliefs, not information. Show people what's possible with your methods. Show people what's possible with your transformation, right? Tell them the stories that are relevant. Help them understand what they can do with what you offer. Right? Don't give them the whole, as they say, what's the word? Don't give away the whole farm, right? Like, don't tell them all the stuff. And don't give them too much information, because two things can happen. They could get a sense of false closure. It's like, wow, okay, they told me everything. I don't need to contact you, right? And that's kind of a drag, not only because you're not getting the business, but because most of the transformations that we want to offer people, are not transactional transformations. Right? That's why it's a different word. It's transformation. It's something that happens over time, and we can serve people better with a longer term engagement. Right? So let the book begin the conversation. Let the book help people, your people, see what's possible. Let it help them, right? Move from whatever disempowering beliefs into empowering beliefs, and show them the path that they can take, and make it clear as day that you're the best person, or your company is the best person to take that journey with them. Okay, so focus on beliefs, not information. Super duper important. And profiting secrets. This is super important. Get clients from conversations about your book. Get influential partners from conversations about your book. Right? You can literally do this like this. You can say to somebody, hey, I'm writing a book about such and such a topic. Let's say it's migraine headaches. Hey, I'm writing a book about migraine headaches. I'd love your input, right? Would you be willing to hop on a marketing call for 15, 20 minutes, right? And so I can ask you questions about the book. Great, right? So that simple, those kind of parameters, really short and simple, or short and sweet, I should say, not a veiled sales call, nothing like that, right? But just, I need this help, right? I need help. People respond to that. People want to help you. They aren't always able. Sometimes they're super busy, but people want to help. So reach out to the people, your best potential clients, your best potential partners, your best former clients, right? And say, hey, I'm writing the book about this thing. And ask them, and this might sound terribly obvious. Excuse me one second. Ask them, regarding migraine headaches, what are the biggest challenges you're facing? And then ask them, regarding migraine headaches, what are the biggest fears you're facing? And then ask them, regarding migraine headaches, what are the biggest frustrations you're facing? Right? Pro tip here, record these conversations. Right? Because not only are you going to get great feedback about the kinds of things that are, causing problems for your ideal client, but you're going to get their language from them in that situation. Now, you might be an expert in your stuff. You probably are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't an expert in your stuff. And there's a risk and there's a danger of being an expert, myself included. It's like we've served so many people. We know our stuff so well that we kind of amalgamate everything. Right? We put it all together and we say, this is the challenge. This is the fear. This is the frustration. And that might be true. But is that what's really up for people right now? Maybe, maybe not. So ask people and don't conflate the question together. Don't say, what are your biggest challenges and fears and frustrations? Those are three distinct words with three distinct definitions. Ask for each of those things, right? Let them give you the words. Let them tell you their challenges, their fear, frustrations. And here is one of the most golden questions in all of this, right? What do you want to learn about migraine headaches? Or what do you want to learn about that topic of your book? Let them tell you. Right? Again, sometimes as experts, we focus so much on this is what you need. And somebody's like, but it's not what I want. And we got to meet people in that place of what they want. Right? People are searching on Google to solve for pain, to solve for challenges. So meet them where they are. That's actually one of the highest levels of service, is to meet people where they are. Right? Empathize with them, their pain, their suffering, their challenge, their frustration. Hey, I get it, right? So ask them and let the people tell you. And the other profiting secret in the mix and all here is creating profitable partnerships. Right? So you've heard me say this a little bit, and I'm going to say it again. Make those connections with people, whether you use this kind of methodology or other ways, because there's so much more success in what we can do together, right? Like when I did that gig with the Fortune 100 company, that consulting opportunity, I had an email list of maybe 250 people, and yet I was able to impact 20,000 people with my message, right? I have a friend and colleague named Susan. She is an author and a consultant. She started working with a company and she made the invitation to them. Hey, maybe everybody in your organization should have one of my books. And they said, that's a great idea. They bought 500,000 books from her. One decision maker, 500,000 books, right? So think about the profitable partnerships, the influential people that you know. Find out how you can complement them and use that to make it happen. So let me ask you a question. Are you enjoying this masterclass so far? I certainly hope so, because I am enjoying the heck out of this. And thank you for being here. We're almost at the end of this, and I know we're about to go into break. So let me wrap it up with a bow. So we talked about book length and thinking as little as possible, publishing versus launching, leveraging your book before it's published, both the idea and the cover, focusing on beliefs, not information, getting clients from conversations about your book, and creating profitable partnerships, right? So writing a book, bringing your book to the world, getting your book finished, writing the next book is often the proverbial no-brainer. So I really invite you to do it and get it done. And if you want to take things to the next level, if you're like, I'm ready, I got to do it. I'm starting a program next week that does all the things, the writing, the publishing included, and the marketing and helping you get clients. So we can talk about that. It would be my pleasure. So come to my table today, or if you're getting this on live stream, you can just book a call with me, influencewiththeheart.com/write your book. We start next week, right? So hop in, and it would be my honor and pleasure to serve you. So imagine what your life is like with your book done, right? All the things that I said, here they are again in your brain. Yay, right? And other people are going to create success for themselves. So why not you? So if a book is in your future, bring it into your immediate future and get it done. You could be published literally by the first quarter of 2022. Happy to support you in that. And now's your time. So start with whatever click is appropriate. Maybe it's a copy and paste. And before we go, like I said, that testimonials template, thank you for sticking around. Just go to this website or this URL, bookreviews.cc. Once again, bookreviews.cc, and you can get them there. And I want to say thank you so much. Ben Gioia, influencewiththeheart.com. It's an absolute honor and pleasure. Donna and Bill, thank you so much for having me in the mix. And I will see you all soon. Cheers.
Oh, Ben, that was amazing. Give some clapping for Ben if you really enjoyed and took some great notes. Did you get something from that? That was pretty awesome. Look at all those claps, Ben. Thank you. Ben came all the way from Italy just to be here today. Can you imagine? So awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Donna. I appreciate it.
Yes. And like Ben was saying, there is going to be a time to sit at the table with him and ask your specific questions. So hang around for that, because it'll be during the open networking where you came in. It'll be back there again. You'll see his face there. You can just click on his seat and ask some questions of Ben. What we're going to do now is take a quick break, what we call a bio break. So whatever you got to do in the next, let's say 3 minutes, we'll come back in 3 minutes. 3 minutes, I'm going to end this session. You'll be back in the social lounge, and then we'll start the next session in just about 3 minutes. All right, so hang around, and the next session is going to be me coming to talk about how to amplify your voice. We'll be back in just a few short minutes, and go ahead and register for the December event. The link is live and in the chat. We'll see you in just a few minutes.